Hey, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here as we're going to talk about the Great Commission and how we execute that in today's culture and today's context. So I'm really excited that you're here. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about. So let's jump right into it. It's time to get into the fray. All right, this week we're going to look at the measure of success. How do you measure success in your efforts to accomplish the Great Commission? Do you even know? Do you have clear understanding and ideas? How does your church measure success? If you're part of church leadership, does everyone in your organization know what the goal is and what those things are that you measure to determine success? We have to remember, if we measure the wrong things, we're going to get the wrong results. You know, sometimes we measure just our church attendance week over week. Is that the number we use, or is it people engaged in the mission? But I'm not here to tell you what exactly you should be measuring, because God gets to determine what success is for each different organization. Remember, the scripture says that some sow and some water, but it's God that gives the increase. So I just want to start the conversation and start you thinking about what are the metrics, what are the important things that you measure. You know, success, it can be tricky to define, and even different programs within your organization may have different definitions of what success looks like, but you have to have that clear definition of what a win is, and what is a successful outcome to this program. And keep in mind, as I'm talking about success and being successful, I do understand that God didn't call us to be successful. He called us to be faithful. But we have to, every time we start a program or we do an event, we have to have in mind what would success look like. If we don't, we're just throwing mud up against the wall and hoping something sticks. And that's not how Jesus did ministry. That's not what the apostles did. And we're supposed to follow in Jesus' footsteps and do things that are productive. You know, at RockFish Church, we have our mission statement. Our mission statement that says we exist to make, equip, and release fully committed followers of Jesus Christ. So we use that as our standard. That is our measuring rod for how do we measure success. If in every program that we have, in every outreach that we do, are we making, are we equipping, or releasing fully committed followers of Jesus Christ? And sometimes we're making and releasing at the same time. We have one of our big outreach events. We're releasing fully committed followers into the community to then turn and make disciples. Remember, our call, Jesus didn't say, go into all the nations and make converts. He said, go into all nations and make disciples. Make disciples. And then that turns into making disciples who make disciples. So as we engage the community, our goal is always to make disciples. Always we want to be bringing people who aren't in right relationship with Christ to that place of right relationship with Christ. There's nothing more important than that initial introduction to Jesus Christ. The thing is we don't want to just leave them there. You know, we want to be sure we have programs or plans in place so that when we're out doing ministry as a church, we have that opportunity to share Jesus with them. We have that avenue and that pathway. That's also important for individuals. If you're an individual and you're just out going through your everyday life, and you have maybe that coworker that they've come to you and said, hey, you've got something that I don't have. What is it? And you introduce them to Jesus, and they come to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Do you just leave them there, or do you bring them along with you? And the next obvious step is invite them to church. Do you discuss and explain things with them, such as baptism, such as communion, such as some of the other things? Do you set up times to spend with them in the Word? Or are we just looking for, hey, I shared the gospel with them, my job is done? Because that's not the approach Jesus took. Jesus said, follow me. He said, walk with me. We're inviting people, when we introduce them to Jesus, we're inviting them on a journey. And do we know what it looks like, what our calling is, what our part to play is, and are we measuring that as the right way? Remember, I can take, and I love my dogs. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a big dog person. But if I judge my dogs based on their ability to climb a tree, they're not very good dogs. I understand what they are. We have to understand what we are. We have to understand what we're called to do, and then measure it by the right things. If you have the gift of evangelism and your heart is to share the gospel with people that are far from Jesus, that's wonderful. Do you have a plan? Do you have another person that can come alongside them and help disciple them? Because no offense to those with the gift of evangelism, but I've known many that we get caught up in the, I just want to share Jesus with people. I just want to share Jesus with people. I just want to share Jesus with people. And we forget that we're called to disciple them. It's more than just an introduction. We become facilitators of friendship. Now, I do want to talk to the church leaders for a minute. If you're watching this, sometimes we have to measure success based on the impact it has on our volunteers. Okay, there are times and seasons, I've seen it in our own church, in our own outreach program, where it looks like the fruit is not there, because we're looking for salvations, we're looking for increased numbers, we're looking at something else. But at the same time, if we turn and we shift that focus inward and we look at our volunteers, our team leaders and all that, we'll see extreme growth in their personal development, in their walk, in their relationship with Jesus, in their faith. Sometimes we do stuff and it's good that it doesn't work out, because then it gives those leaders an opportunity to grow, and we see them begin to look at things differently and maybe dream bigger. Maybe we have a successful event, but then they're ready to move on to the next bigger success. It's that growth in that the person that would be disgruntled and disturbed because these things don't seem to be working out, all of a sudden they're encouraged because, hey, we're one step closer to that major impact. So we have to know what success is, know the different ways that we can measure it. Is it converts? Is it growth in our team leaders? Is it growth in our volunteers? Is it new leaders emerging? Is it new ideas that are coming up? All of these different things can be a measure of true growth within our outreach efforts and growth within the kingdom, even though it's not adding numbers. I think sometimes we get caught up in looking at the things the world looks at to determine success. Remember, bigger is not always better. Bigger does not always mean more successful. The most successful evangelism today is the relational evangelism, the one-on-one, or the inviting people to church. Do we consider the invitation culture of our church as an outreach mechanism? If so, how do we measure that success? Well, that success should be measured by attendance numbers, by first-time visitors, right? But you wouldn't measure the success of a community outreach by the number of first-time visitors to the church. So see, it's that idea of understanding what defines success. And guys, I can't stress enough, you have to let God define success for your organization and for each program within your organization. Don't let competition, don't let the church down the street, don't let the members that oftentimes aren't engaged in the outreach define what success looks like. God gets to define success, so we have to spend our time on our face before God saying, God, what does success look like to you? And then we know how to measure success. So guys, I encourage you, as you're looking through this, as you're contemplating what is the measure of success for your program, for your plan, in your personal life, how do you measure success in your discipleship? Seek God. Find out what His definition of success for you is at this time in this season, and be aware that that definition may change over time as God takes you through different seasons into different places. And then once you get that definition, begin to plan how do you measure it, how do you achieve it. Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes as we discuss these things. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Help get this message out. If you want to be part of the conversation, feel free to leave a comment or shoot me an email at clay@rockfishchurch.com. I would love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you next time as we go deeper into the fray.